Well, there you are, and I'm awfully glad you let us into your house this evening. My name is Ray Hill, and the name of the program is Public Affairs, Public Access. We do kind of different stuff here. We talk about politics and sociology and history and culture and all of that, but tonight is a very special night because I've got a great guest tonight. I'm being joined by Diana Weeks. Diana Weeks is a journalist in both hard news and features in her past. She now calls herself a playwright because that's what she does. And I've seen some of Diana's work. Diana's play about Texas heroes, a musical. It was a musical piece about Texas heroes, and it included Jane Long and Stephen F. Austin and Sam Houston and all of the characters in it. It was really colorful, especially the cucumbers. And so I'm glad to introduce Diana Weeks, playwright. Diana Weeks, glad to have you with us.
Thank you.
She was also the producer of Ray Hill, The Prison Years, when I first decided to start writing and performing my own work. And did I ever say thank you for that?
Yes, you did.
Oh, okay. If I didn't, let me do it now. How does a little girl from Fort Worth become a playwright?
Well, you have to work hard.
Well, whatever inspired you to do that?
I started writing because writing letters, and my friends would hate me because as soon as they wrote me back, then I'd send another one, and then they'd owe me another letter.
Oh, okay.
But a friend that had lived next door to me, and we had gotten to be really close when we lived in Bryan, and her husband was in the Air Force and going to A&M to become a captain or something. And they moved to California, and so we had to start writing. And she suggested that we collaborate. She had been writing for an ad agency in Chicago. She was a real writer, and she thought that I was funny and that we could write something. And so I had told her stories about my grandmother, and she said, let's write a book about your grandmother. So, okay. So she said, and if you wonder why you want to collaborate with me, it's because I can spell. And she could spell. So we started doing that, and then we never did really get it finished. She got pregnant with her 5th child, and I ended up turning it into a play, The Survival of Kitty McDowell. And I was still working for the Chronicle, and Neil Havens, who at that time was in charge of the Rice Players, I knew him, and he had read the play. And Jack Weeks, who was the crime reporter for the Chronicle, I covered Fort Bend County.
Okay.
So I really didn't do much writing for them. I just called them on the phone or wired them. And he worked out of the cop shop.
Sure. I knew Jack.
Yeah, he was big. And when they had the throwdown gun case, he realized he also wrote for the Dick books. And he knew that was...
Detective magazines.
That was big.
In case that's confusion in your mind, it's detective magazines, yeah.
So he asked me to collaborate with him on a movie about the throwdown gun case. And we did write it, and which we neither one of us knew how to market. But Neil Havens had read that. And when I took him The Survival of Kitty McDowell, he said, why don't you bring Jack in on this? And since he had brought me in on his, I did. And Main Street did it. And it was very thrilling
Main Street
because
Theater, 2 locations in Houston, one on Montrose and one over in Times
this
Square.
was when they were in Audrey House.
Yeah.
This
Oh,
was back in
back,
way,
way back,
long time ago.
where they
But
got their
did
name.
a fabulous production and spoiled me entirely because then I thought that everything I got up should be as good as Main Street had made Kitty. And it's a lot more work than I had ever thought. In the producing end of it, I wouldn't have been producing you because it was so much work that I admire Becky Udden enormously, that she's done so much for Houston and so much for the community and pulled in young people like Catastrophic. If we didn't have Catastrophic, because now you go to the theater and everybody's got white hair. We need young
Yeah, we need Catastrophic to go out there and do some
to
drafting and recruiting and get them in.
get them in the theater.
Well, I mean, they're doing that at Frenetic, and they're doing
Yes,
they're young
yes,
folks in
yes.
theater around town. But you know, from my childhood, and kind of hard to believe I even had a childhood to see me now, but from my childhood, we had Marietta Merrick and Playhouse Theater, which was just a whole movement of fascinating stuff. We had Nana Vance at the Alley, and so Houston Theater, and I was active in theater in those days. Actually, for Marietta Merrick, I had a dancing role in Gypsy. You know, and now I got a peg leg. They would have to call it a stumbling role, but I certainly enjoyed doing it. And community theater is a kind of magic.
Well, community, and I used to be a snob about community theater, and I didn't even submit anything to community theaters because their production values weren't good enough for me. But I'm sorry now. I'm sorry now. I made a huge mistake because they're what's keeping theater alive all over the country. If we didn't have community theaters, we'd be in a heap more trouble than we're in now.
Well, it's true. When I lived in New Orleans, I was teaching composition rhetoric at Newcomb, and community theater was all around me. I mean, there was a small theater on every street corner, and the first time I saw Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, I went to the showing, actually dress rehearsal with Tennessee Williams. And I left there bewildered at how dark that play was. Then by the time you see it on the screen, where it's been adapted so that Elizabeth Taylor would actually play that role, and so that Paul Newman would play his role, and so that Burl Ives would play Big Daddy, they made those roles a lot cleaner than they were in that play. But the hand of Tennessee Williams was magic.
Well, I'm looking for that magic myself.
Well, what are you working on?
I'm working on a play that the characters are bees because I became very worried about the bees.
Bees, like,
When the hive started collapsing.
Yeah.
And people realized that we weren't going to have anybody carrying the mating them so they would grow and make vegetables and all that.
Pollination.
And my youngest daughter, Lori, and her husband got to retire from schools and live in the hill country and decided to have some beehives to raise some bees. And they had some books. And I had told one of the guy that's head of the concierge at the building where I live, who is a third grade teacher, that I would write a play for his third grade. And I decided to write it about the bees and teach the kids, about the bees. But when I got involved in the bees, I found out that there's so many interesting things about the bees. And then when I saw that the worker bees, that are the females, kick out the
males, yeah. You use them
every winter.
Yeah.
Because they really don't do anything, but
they don't accomplish anything but carry the load.
Yes,
right.
yes. And it attracted my feministness, and I decided to write a full-length play that has bee characters. And I thought this was so unique because I never had heard of it, and I thought I was probably the first one that ever thought of that. But then when I go into a bookstore, I see a book, Bees. And my daughter Kathy was with me, and so she was opening it, and she said, "Mom, you might want to read this because
It's your play.
their characters are bees." So now I've stopped writing the play to read it because I don't want to
You
do
don't want to
anything
step
that's
on
already
somebody
been
else's
done.
toes. Okay.
But it's not what I had kind of intended to do, but it's very good. It's very good.
Let me talk to these folks just a second. By the way, you can call in the show. Both Diana and I are pretty witty characters. We're a couple of writers, and so be forewarned because if we get nasty back. Telephone number is 713-807 1794. Is that right, Mark? 713-807-1794. Give us a call and join us in the conversation. We're not just talking about bees. We're talking about writing plays. We're talking about Houston theater. We're talking about theater where you are. Theater was important to me as I was growing up. But ultimately, everything's theater. You know, when I was a teenage evangelist, that was just low-grade theater. The practice of law is just low-grade theater. So, tell me about Texas Heroes.
Well, after we finished it, Edward Rojas is the composer on that, and he did a lot of the lyrics too, and it's very, very good composer. And we had a lot of readings in the public libraries, but I took it to the Sons of Texas. So I thought they would want to something, you know, they would be so eager. So they went to one of their meetings and sang some of the songs. And I, not thinking ahead, we put in one of Sam Houston's songs, which was "I Hate to Be Rejected."
Yeah.
And they were just up in arms. Sam Houston was never rejected. And they did not want any kind of play going around saying that Sam Houston would ever be rejected. And they didn't want anything to do with it. Because it does talk about the truth.
Yeah.
About because the play is about the short time that Texas was just a nation.
What about Sam's third wife? I mean, they got married and they went upstairs and she come down dressed and left and they never saw her again. If that's not rejection, what is?
Well, that's, you know, but they don't look at it that way.
Yeah.
But it hasn't really gotten up. It hasn't gotten up. It's got 17 songs. And Jane Long is sort of bawdy. And Jane...
It's got slavery in it.
Yes, and her slave Cayenne has the best song. She has the two, "Men Are Worser Than Dogs."
Yeah.
And "I Need a Man to Keep Me Warm." She has the two really, the songs that I like best in the show. And I was thinking about contacting Deborah, who does the Good Morning show in Houston, because she has a very good voice. And I haven't done it because I have the terrible habit of going from one creative process, because that's the fun to me, instead of the marketing and the work that you have to do to get a play up.
I was the mayor and I received an award recently, and Deborah was one of the co-hosts, MCs of the thing, and so I get to talk to her every once in a while, and she and I promised to coffee up soon. I'll mention it. Good, because
there's somebody over there at Channel 11 that likes Texas history, and I've been intending ever since I found that out.
Oh, well, Ron,
to hook up with him.
Ron Stone and I were going to write up a two-man dueling portrayal of Sam Houston, and we go to Huntsville in that old film theater that they turned into and he's going to put Ron Stone and Sam Houston on this side of the stage, and me as Sam Houston on this side of the stage, and we were going to do dueling Sam Houstons.
Yeah.
Because Sam was a funny man.
And he did have a drinking problem.
He had a big drinking problem.
And that was something else that they didn't think should be mentioned.
Well, you can't tidy up history. Everybody wants to tidy up history, but that is inherently the wrong thing to do. You know, somebody asked me just today, what was the first book you ever read? Well, it was a real thin biography of Mahatma Gandhi that was written while he was still alive, so he had not yet been sanctified. And it's a much better Mahatma Gandhi in I still have it, and I still refer to it, and I still use it because it's real. The things like the movie and all of that's written after that, they sanctify him and wash away all of his sins, and he was a human being, and he had weaknesses, and I don't know why people do that.
Well, the thing that attracted me to Texas is that everybody's heard about the Revolution and so much of Texas history, but nobody's heard about how they were when it was a nation, even though it wasn't but a few years.
Yeah, the republic.
And how that came to be, and how that worked. And the fact that Jane Long was a godchild of the president at that time, who wanted the country to go all the way to the Pacific Ocean.
Sure. Manifest Destiny.
But the character that I loved the most in that play was the captured Mexican general.
Santana's in there.
And he
people
had the fun.
And people do not understand that. You've got a great song, or some great lines for Santana. But Santana was a house guest of Sam Houston after San Jacinto.
Yeah, at Jane's. They hid him because some of the people wanted to kill Santana.
Yeah.
And one was Lamar. Lamar's the character. There's only 5 characters in it. And
well, my favorite character in the play is the slave. I mean,
yeah, she
but
has.
But then she got the blues.
Good. Yeah.
And the blues is where it's at, for me. I mean, the theater with the blues is where it's at. And whenever I saw readings and performances, and where they sang the songs, I remember we went down to that place in the old Rice, and they sang the songs.
Yes, yes.
And
the singer that was singing that part, I can't remember her name.
Was wonderful.
Right now.
She was a blues singer.
So yeah, she sang it. She's the best blues singer in town. And I apologize that I can't remember her name just right off.
Next time I'll bring notes.
But Vaughn.
Yeah.
Anyway, excellent, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful voice, and she wanted to be in it if we could get it up.
Yeah, it was wonderful. It was a wonderful piece. But is that not the way of all writing flesh? Is that it works or it don't? What is the difference?
Well, from my point of view, the things that I have gotten up have been because somebody who was in a position to do it, like Sandy was with Rice, fell in love with one of the characters, with Kitty.
Yeah.
And it's so much work to get something up that you have to love it. And it takes an average of 8 years to get a show to Broadway. And of course, that's what I still want. And but I just keep writing more things, and and jumping into the movie and doing different things, because the writing is the fun, and I like fun, and I don't like work.
Dialogue is work for me.
Well, dialogue is good for me.
Really, yeah, you and Edward Albee. Just think
good.
it's nothing to dialogue. That's where I live, and I can do that. Me, it's work, because I've got to. I may be suffering the illusion that I've got to assume the personality and character of each speaker in a conversation. And that's not easy for me to do. I'm not quite that schizophrenic yet.
Well, I don't know, because even if I'm writing about history on it, I still know what I want them to say.
Yeah.
But I did a lot of research. I was in the Texas room at the downtown library a lot on that piece. I love research, and sometimes I over research, and then I've got so many little things, so I've learned so much, and perhaps didn't need all that.
Well, you can't use it
But-
because you've got time constraints, and you've got the constraints of what's happening in the sets in which your actors perform.
But what I'm trying to do with my so-called career, everything that I write is about, the theme is about compromise, because I believe in my heart that if people don't learn to compromise, we will never, never have peace.
Just look at Washington these days.
And I'm trying to demonstrate in everything that I do that compromise is something that should be tried.
Well, your work, and I'm familiar with work because we're friends, and we talk about our work when we get together. The Great Escape.
Yes.
I mean, that's such a novel idea. You have two old ladies in a nursing home on a bum rap.
Yes.
On a bum rap. They don't even belong there, because they got greedy families, and so they're plotting an escape from the nursing home.
And they do.
And they do.
They do escape.
And they support themselves with criminal activity.
That's right. But I wrote that because I am tired of people thinking that when you're older that you don't want to date or you don't want to
Boogie.
have a relationship.
You don't want a boogie.
Yes, you don't want a boogie. And I was in Hawaii. My daughter Kathy and her husband Sonny rented a beautiful house in Hawaii, and everybody went over to Hawaii. And at the same time, a cousin was in Hawaii because she's an athlete, and she was in the senior high jumps. And she and I were talking about the fact that we were both, at that point, 72. And so we said, let's write, and we decided to do it as a movie about women, older women that still have moxie.
Real reclaiming.
Yes, yes. And we did, and we had a lot of fun. And at that time, Chuck Hudson was president of the scriptwriters. And I had found out that he had a program that formatted plays, which I didn't have the money to buy. So I told him that I was writing this movie, and I would pay him if he would format it. So he said, well, I'll read 10 pages and see if I like it.
Yeah, right. They did.
So he did, and he did like it.
He did, loved it.
And so
That play has never
did
been
it.
exposed to anybody that did not fall in love with the whole concept.
But and we still haven't, of course, I jumped into the Texas Heroes and started doing other things after we wrote that.
Well, you always
But
have more than
now-
one iron on the fire.
That's true. That's true. But now I saw on TV that they have shows where you go and you tell them what the project is, and you see if they want to finance it. You got a deal.
Yeah. Well, one of my
documentaries.
documentaries went to Kickstarter to raise $50,000. You wound up raising $150,000. She's completing the project now, and that's going to come out soon.
So I'm thinking about finding out how to do that. And I spent all day writing a 500 treatment about that movie, which we changed the name to Senior Shenanigans. It had been On the Lam, and that was so cliche-ish we decided to change it. But it only has 8 characters, 5 feisty women, and the conflict is between the older people and the daughter
Yeah, the
of
younger.
one and the niece of another one that chase them after they escape
yeah.
because they have gotten accustomed.
You can't have a
to
chase
using their
movie without
money.
chasers.
And it's a chase movie.
Yeah, it's.
And then the niece, the daughter of the niece, comes in, and so it's a generational comedy. And I'm humorous, but my collaborator on this, Linda Douglas, is funny. And it is a very, very funny movie. And so now I have decided, because I want to make money for the first time in my life. And I'm the kids take such good care of me that because of the principle, I have never supported myself. There's always been a guy supporting me.
How many husbands have you had?
I just had 2,
Just 2.
but I have had some
boyfriends, some serious
yeah.
boyfriends. Yeah.
Chuck,
Yeah.
Eddie Cope was
Yeah.
very, very
And Eddie Cope was in
great.
the business.
And he was in the business. And
He was a playwright.
very encouraging. And he took me to see every show in Houston, and it was great. And that's where I found out how hard communities
Theaters work.
work to make things better. And like Theater Southwest, Mimi is doing fantastic work over there. She's getting as good as Becky.
And country.
And yeah, and they're getting a new venue.
Yeah, they're building a whole new venue.
And they're drawing in stuff, but Neil Simon was very right when he said that playwrights cannot make a living, but they can make a killing.
It's
But
all
I
or
haven't
nothing.
made a killing yet, but I keep, instead of just focusing on the business end. But I'm going to. Now I would like to be able to know that I could actually support myself.
Well, tell me about scriptwriters.
Scriptwriters is an organization that's supportive, and I admit I have not been good about going to the meetings since Dee Clyburn left as president and Eddie died. But they have the 10 by 10 every year. And
10 by 10? What's that?
They have 10-minute plays, and they do 10. So if you don't like one, and they're getting better and better in production values.
And more competitive.
And yes. And they've got something coming up, and I think Jane Wiley told me that she's got a monologue that she wants to get into it. And she was in many of the 10 by 10s in one play or another. But I didn't submit to it because I was a snob. But I'm not anymore. But I still haven't done it because I have,
Well, it takes a lot of work to make a 10-minute piece because you've got it's like I was listening to Allende, the lady from Chile, explained that it's the same amount of work to come up with a plot line for a short story as it is for a full novel.
Right.
As a matter of fact, it's more work because you've got to edit it down
Yes.
so that it fits a specific
Yes.
space. And she said, so I stopped writing short stories because I was too lazy to write short stories. So I write full novels now.
Yeah.
And that's a wonderful thing. And Houston has all kinds of venues, and we have all kinds of media that covers that. Pacifica covers some of it. HMS covers some of it. And as a matter of fact, we've done Shakespeare in this room. Or is this the room's equivalent at another location?
Well, there's a whole lot of playwrights, writers in Houston, a whole lot of talent, a whole lot of wonderful actors. We've got Kate Paxton is a fantastic composer, and she and I wrote 4 shows. Oh, I talked to Lindy Yenny, who used to be the artistic director at Kumba House.
Mm-hmm.
And she was the artistic director that really liked my writing. I hated it when she decided to become a minister and move back to South Africa. But she told me that she was going to call the theater on Main Street, oh, it's terrible to get old.
Wait, well, no, you're not old.
What's the name of the black theater?
Oh, you're talking about Ensemble.
Ensemble, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
great theater. Great, I mean, wonderful plant. I mean, wonderful venue.
Oh, and it's beautiful.
They've got everything it needs to make great plays.
Very high production values.
Yeah.
And I had Kate Paxton and I had written the Turnaround Christmas, which Kumba House did for years, and then the Children's Museum did the Turkey Rebellion. And Lindy said, we made so much money that I wish that you would talk to the ensemble about doing it. And she said, have you done that yet? And I said, no, I haven't. So she said, I'm going to call them and tell them. So maybe we'll get them up. But when I moved the last time, my body of work, since I've been, writing for 40 years, I've got a bunch, is stored at the All-Star Storage down in Richmond that Kathy and Sonny have.
It was family business.
Family business. And so I don't have things handy. So Kate and I are going to get together and we're going to go down there. We're going to get the 4 musicals that we wrote together. We did several for HSPVA, and they have great production values. We did Beauty and the Beast before Walt Disney.
Have you been over their new venue?
Beautiful songs. The new venue for
HSPVA is moving to the new school over on West Gray at
Are they going to do that next year?
They're going to do that next year, and they have taken an old building, used to be an old, like, wine garden store, and turned that into their theater.
Wow.
Yeah. The corner of West Gray and Taft.
Well, I talked to them a year or so ago, and they were putting a new roof on it. And I said, "Does this mean y'all are going to be here for a couple of more years?" Because they were right in Montrose. Yeah. And but I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, well, whatever they do to the old campus is going to be worth its while because they're going to sell that. I mean, a lot of people are looking at it for a gay community center.
Oh.
Property does not go to waste.
Yeah.
Not in Houston.
No.
And they have got big national funding for the new school, and it's state of the art. I've already been over to see a couple of productions. They did Arthur Miller's his story about the witch hunts. They did his play over there. Yeah, and a bunch of kids.
Oh.
Pouring their heart into it.
One of the kids that was in the Turkey Rebellion, I did it as a television show to give the kids an opportunity to do something,
Sure.
for TV. And one of the actors, young actors that was in it, made it to Broadway years later.
Takes a while.
They're very, very good, very good. Robert Singleton retired, and I worked with him for a couple of years, and it was wonderful. And then that was when Jack Weeks and I were married, and he got really sick, and I quit working with him, and I haven't gotten back back in with them.
What about national organizations for writers like the Guild?
Yes. The Guild is having a party on the 18th here in Houston
Here?
for this area. And I'm gonna go to it. It's on the 18th,
Mm-hmm.
which is like
Like,
next Friday.
Yeah, sure, it's coming
something.
right quickly. Yeah.
And a very good playwright is hosting it. And a friend from Tyler is going to come in, and I'm going to take him and introduce him to some of the playwrights here. Wayne. And the Dramatists Guild, when I first joined it, which has been, like 30 years ago or more, was really New York. They were just Broadway.
Yeah,
They
care
didn't
about
think
anything else.
anybody else was doing anything. But now they are being very supportive of playwrights all over the United States. They're having conferences in different areas. They're putting in their magazine that they do every month. They'll have somebody, and back in the day I used to do it, but now they're doing it in a really formal way so that writers can see in the magazine what's happening in San Francisco, what's happening in Houston, what's happening in Chicago, what's happening all over the United States. And they're really trying to give the support to the playwrights that live in the United States
And the flyover.
than just the New Yorkers. Of course, when I ran away from home to be a playwright after the kids all married, I didn't go to New York because I can't stand cold weather. And I didn't want to be that far away from the kids.
Fort Worth was cold enough for you.
Yes, yes. And I like Houston. But I really realize that New York is still the place to be if you're serious about Broadway. And I still don't want to go there, but I still would like to have something up.
Well, I
because
mean,
that's my dream.
I think some of the things you've written are a lot better quality work than a lot of things that they put up on Broadway.
Well, it's my problem is the only producer that I really like a lot, that I really want to produce me, is Richard Frankel, and he did the producers, and
Yeah.
he's a big guy, and I haven't been able to talk him into doing it yet. I tried to get him to do You.
Yeah.
That's how I met him when I was producing, and but it's a tough business, and you have to make up your mind that you're going to focus on trying to.
Well, your work is extremely great. I'm proud of my own work.
Your own work is very good, or I
the
wouldn't
miracle
have
of
been
my
producing it.
the miracle of my unbelief is what I emailed you a synopsis of it just
Good.
last night.
Good.
It's a story of my first career as a teenage Baptist evangelist, and all that goes with that.
Yeah.
And it's so rich in material. But I kind of know what you mean when you say research, because when I started writing Whatever Happened to Anita Bryant, I researched Anita Bryant. And I had in my own mind where I was going to go with that piece until I researched Anita Bryant.
Yeah.
And when I got through researching Anita Bryant, instead of this being an anti-gay screed, I had more sympathy for Anita than to do that. She became a human in my research. And I understood where she's coming from because everything was so damn predictable. She didn't have a whole lot of choice in all of this, and it was actually kind of this strange idea of fate that controlled her life. And bless her heart, she's living in Lawton, Oklahoma, in a rundown old house, and I don't want to do anything more to Anita Bryant. Heavens help. So I wrote the play in that light. And now a lot of my close activist friends don't like my play because I am not mean to Anita Bryant. Well, I have no intention to be a mean person anyway. And do the characters actually control your work?
Well,
Once you create
sometimes
them,
they take over.
once you create them, they have a mind of their own.
But the thing about playwriting is it makes you feel a little bit like God because you create the world, the people in it, and you make them do what you want them to
And
do.
the circumstances around them.
And it's a powerful ego thing. And that's what gets me in trouble.
Oh, Diana,
My ego.
there is nothing in the world more powerful than to get in on stage, get your audience caught up in the vortex of your story, your performance, and you turn around, you look at that, and you could ask those people for their wallets. That's power. You can, you listeners out there in Universal League, you feel free to call in. You can join in this conversation. I'm sure some of you got theater stories. I remember at Woodland Acres Junior High School, we were doing an adaptation of The Golden Key, and a mama cat got in the air conditioning system and had kittens, and they didn't stay in one place. They were scattered all over the building with meow, 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 meow. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. That's the nature of theater. And I love it. I love it. I love the unpredictability of it. I love being a writer. I like Diana said, you get a sense of some real power over your own little creations there. And Agatha Christie created all those characters.
And that was her key, is she made characters that actors wanted to be in, and that made producers that could get good actors to be in her shows.
We have a phone call.
Great.
Is that true?
Ray, how are you?
Well, I've gotten away with it all day. Who is this and how are you?
This is Arlene. This is Charlie Perez's mom.
Oh, hi, Arlene.
He is doing so well you would not believe.
Well,
I was calling to see if I could get your phone number. There's something I really need to talk to you about.
Well, my phone number is a public utility. Everybody in the world has it. It's easy to remember. You don't have to write it down. It's 713-523-6969.
Okay. But anyway, he's doing good. He's been back to the prison as a speaker.
Good. I am so proud of that.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk to you about some things. Maybe this lady knows. My husband passed away, and I've got a ton of women's and men's clothes, and I want to donate it to a good organization. So if y'all know anybody, let me know that can pick it up.
What do you do with stuff like that, Diana?
Well, there are 5 charity shops in Montrose.
Yeah.
And all of them are doing good work.
Well, there's Catholic Charities over there at the end of Lovett Street.
Okay.
Is one of them, and there is the Guild Shop, which is located on, I think, Woodhead.
There's one on Alabama.
And there's one on Alabama. That's the Bluebird Circuit.
Oh, I didn't know they were still around. Okay.
Yeah, they're still around, and it's booming off. And then there is the Presbyterian one, which I think is interesting, over on Commonwealth Street.
Okay. But anyway, I will give you a call. It's just something I really need to talk to you about.
Thank you, and I appreciate, as you're disposing of things, that you care about the needs of others.
Well, he's got some vintage suits that I'm hoping I can put on consignment somewhere. There's a 3-piece bell bottoms with the vest and jacket and stuff, and I just hate for it to sit there, you know.
I think I've got a play that would make a wonderful costume. We'll talk, girlfriend.
Okay, baby, you take care.
Thank you, Arlene.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. It's wonderful to be recognized and to talk to people about that, and costuming.
Well, costumes are,
You know, Miracle is set in the 50s. All right. And so if you're going to have cars, you may as well have Studebakers.
yes.
If you have music, you may as well have Hank Williams. There are jewels out of the 50s that survive to this day that just about communicate whatever you want to communicate. Now, whenever Monterey Films, they bit on Miracle.
Oh, good,
Yep.
good.
And then they sent me the most insulting letter, and I need your advice on something like that.
Okay.
They said, well, we would kind of like a love storyline between these two characters, the leading character and another young male character in the play. Well, there's a little romance going on, but it's more hormonal than it is romantic,
Yeah.
all right? These kids, the oldest kid's 17, and this is set in the 50s. And I got insulted because I thought they were looking for a 1990s love story in a 1950s gay setting. And that just was not humanly possible. Now, older men in the 50s, like I knew a couple of college professors that had been together and formed that kind of stable relationships. But kids at 17, I guess they're different now, but they certainly weren't ready for those kind of relationships. What does a playwright do when somebody throws a load on you like that?
Well, it's just how hungry are you? How much do you need money?
How much will you sacrifice in artistic value to make a buck?
Yeah. And I've never before cared that much about money, but I mean that's kind of what makes the world go around. Yeah.
Well, you know, the writer is going to lose a certain amount of control anyway.
True.
Because here's going to come the director,
Yes.
and he or she is going to have their ideas about what this is all
Right.
about, and they're going to kind of mold the characters. Then, like I talked about in Tennessee Williams' Cat on a High Tin Roof, you had Burl Ives, who was not going to play that incestuous old abuser. That Burl Ives' career couldn't handle that, so they rewrote Tennessee Williams' play and tidied the character up to get Burl Ives to play it.
And that was okay with.
Apparently, Tennessee Williams thought that was okay. He loved the movie because I knew him when the movie came out.
Did you see? I got an email from the Dramatists Guild that said that the Houston Tuts person had changed the playwright's play that they did, and that's not allowed. That the Dramatists Guild is kind of the union for playwrights.
Sure.
And you're not supposed to change anything in a play without the permission
Of the playwright.
Of the playwright.
Yeah, I know you tried to
And
do Grease.
apparently they did, and now the guild is sending out emails to let everybody know what a risk that they might be taking if they submit anything to Tuts.
Ah.
Of course, you know, Tuts probably doesn't care because they're, you know,
They're established.
yeah.
They're established. But I do know that when I was in Philadelphia, they were doing an all-female casting of Grease.
Oh, I've
The
never heard of an
50s play.
all-female Grease.
Well, it works. I mean, Dykes work very well in Grease. As a matter of fact, I thought it was a natural, and it's kind of like getting Edward Albee to agree to let you do an all-male casting of Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf.
Oh.
Ain't gonna happen. Ain't gonna happen. And he will sue you for copyright if you try to do that. And the authors of Grease did sue him. So they kept it up, but they changed the name of it from Grease
to
to
something
a
else.
play formerly known of as Grease.
Yeah.
And they got away with that as long as they had a run. But the other thing is that runs have an ending.
Yeah,
And it shows that open close.
that's true.
And to the effects of that on the ego of the playwright is whatever that is.
And even the big successful playwrights have found that out. It's not a profession that allows your ego to get too big, because there's it's a difficult
I remember when Gregory Boyd put up, he does everything that Edward Albee wants done. And so he had the program printed up for a play about the baby. Great play.
Yeah.
Great play. Naked people and
Yeah.
everything. It was a great play.
Yeah, I
Good
remember
looking
that.
naked people.
Yeah.
And when the playbill came out, it was Play About the Baby by Edward Albee. And Edward says, you're going to have to reprint them. It's Edward Albee's The Play About the Baby. And so Gregory reprinted them at great expense, because playwrights to have that. And another thing Gregory did that I had so much admiration for is Tennessee Williams' Lost Play, not about nightingales. It simply would not fit into any venue in the elaborate Alley Theater, which has got a couple of venues right there
Yeah.
that are very plastic and you can do all kinds of things. So he went over to the Houston Center over there close to where used to be the Albert Thomas thing, and it's now the Houston Center where the Star Theater is and all of that, and built a performance space for that play. I would have killed for that set to do Ray Hill, The Prison Years.
Oh, wow.
Because it had 3 tiers of bars, and it was so great. It's so great. But a good managing director will do whatever it takes to make the magic of theater work.
True.
And it is magic.
It is. It is.
Diana, we're damn near out of time.
Oh,
I've got to tell these people here about who we are and what we do.
good.
But I want you to know this has been wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for
Wow, I
accepting my
enjoyed it.
invitation and coming in and talking, pouring your soul into our cameras. We are Houston Media Source. They used to call us Access Cable because we are the connection that you have to the media. I know, you're sitting home watching this show and say, well, why don't they do more of this? Well, we do. I come in here periodically and I may have wonderful people like Diana, or may have a couple of politicians, or may have a bunch of convicts. You can't tell. I'm kind of crazy that way. But we are what we are because we want to be here for you to conceptualize the media that you know the world needs to see. You say, well, gosh, I've got to go. No, you don't have to go to college. You don't have to get a degree in filmmaking. You don't have to do any of that. You need to come right here to Houston Media Source. A lot of you are watching me on the internet anyway, hmstv.org. When you go to the front page, there are telephone numbers, addresses. Look it up. We've got a state-of-the-art studio from which this show is being produced right now. I mean state-of-the-art. You walk out of our production equipment into any commercial station in Houston, you feel right at home. And behind that, we've got a warehouse full of stuff that you can check out and go off-site to film or shoot what you want to shoot, and you come back over here and you edit it, and we've got a television channel, Channel 17, or via the internet to the whole world on hmstv.org. We want you to get creative, and we need you to be involved. The fees are such a bargain. With the training goes with the game. We teach you in classes how to use the equipment so you can use it safely and creatively. You check it out, use it, and you bring it back. Simple. There is media that you have in your head that the world needs and deserves. We've been talking about writing plays creatively, turning theater for stage or for films, scripts. There's a million stories, and you know 3 or 4 that are just your treasure that need to be shared. HMSnettv.org, Houston Media Source, your vehicle to get your voice in with the rest of the media and into the world. All it takes is your patience, your sweat, and your courage. My name is Ray Hill. The name of this program is Public Affairs, Public Access, or Public Access, Public Affairs. We call it the Papa Show. I want to thank Mark Pirtle for being our producer and putting on. I want to thank again Diana Weeks. Diana, have you had a good time?
Great time. I wish my memory was better.
You're doing well. You're doing well. Yeah.
Well, if you ever ask me, I'm going to write down people's names so I won't be.
You're going to make some notes.
I'm going to make some notes.
I do a little cheat notes myself every once in a while. But isn't this a wonderful institution?
It is. Well, this is the first year that they started this. I took the courses, and that was how I got the Turkey Rebellion done for TV. And it was on and did win a national award.
Well, if these people are scared by lights and sound and colors and motion, we got a radio studio over there. Come in and do radio.
And if anybody in Houston has the desire and always wanted to do something, they've got a chance to do it.
Yeah,
and it's not that expensive, and it's a way to make some of your dreams come true.
Your creative ideas will compete with other creative
Yes.
ideas for space that is plenty roomy in there.
Yeah.
Diana Weeks, thank you very much for being around. Marcus, thank you very much for doing this. I'll be back in a few weeks to do another Papa Show here on Public Access, Public Affairs. In the meantime, try to behave, and if you don't behave, shut up. Never talk to a cop without a lawyer being present.